Vegeta's sacrifice against Majin Buu represents one of anime's most powerful redemption moments. After spending most of his life as a ruthless warrior who valued only strength and pride, Vegeta finally understood what was truly worth fighting for. When Vegeta allowed himself to be controlled by Babidi to gain the power to fight Goku, he seemed to have abandoned all the growth he'd achieved on Earth. His attack on the World Tournament and his willingness to endanger innocent people showed how deep his selfish obsession ran. But when Fat Buu began slaughtering civilians and threatened his family, Vegeta experienced a moment of clarity. For the first time in his life, he felt genuine remorse for his actions and understood that some things were more important than personal pride. Vegeta's final explosion was meant to destroy both himself and Buu, sacrificing his life not for glory or revenge, but to protect others. His last thoughts weren't about surpassing Goku, but about his love for Bulma and Trunks. Even though the attack failed to kill Buu, Vegeta's willingness to die for others marked his complete transformation from selfish prince to selfless protector. He found redemption not through victory, but through the act of sacrifice itself. While Itachi was never truly evil, his final moments with Sasuke revealed the depth of his love and sacrifice, transforming him from apparent villain to tragic hero in the eyes of the audience. For years, Sasuke believed Itachi had murdered their clan for power and personal gain. Itachi maintained this lie even during their final battle, allowing Sasuke to hate him completely, while hiding the truth about his impossible choice between family and village. During their last confrontation, Itachi could have easily killed Sasuke, but instead, he used their battle to remove Orochimaru's curse mark and awaken Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan. Every action was designed to protect his brother, even while appearing to attack him. Itachi's final moments showed his true nature. Instead of delivering a killing blow, he approached Sasuke with the same gentle affection he had shown as children, poking his forehead one last time before dying with a smile. The revelation of Itachi's true motives recontextualized his entire character. He had lived and died as a villain in Sasuke's eyes, to spare his brother the burden of knowing the truth about their clan's planned coup and the village's response. Zabuza's final battle represents the moment when the Demon of the Mist rediscovered his humanity through the example of his loyal companion Haku's selfless love. Throughout the Land of Waves arc, Zabuza presented himself as an emotionless killing machine who viewed Haku only as a useful tool. When Haku died protecting him, Zabuza's initial reaction seemed to confirm his heartless nature, but Naruto's passionate speech about Haku's devotion and love broke through Zabuza's emotional barriers. For the first time, Zabuza allowed himself to feel the grief and rage he had suppressed, shedding tears for the boy who had given everything for him. Zabuza's final charge against Gato and his mercenaries was both an act of revenge and redemption. He fought not for money or personal gain, but to honor Haku's memory and punish those who had defiled his companion's sacrifice. Dying beside Haku, Zabuza finally acknowledged the bond they had shared and requested to be buried next to his most loyal friend. In death, he found the humanity he had spent years trying to suppress. While Grimjo didn't die permanently, his apparent final moments during his battle with Ichigo showed his evolution from mindless destroyer to someone who understood the value of a worthy opponent. Grimjo's entire existence as an Arrancar was focused on finding strong opponents to fight and destroy. His rivalry with Ichigo was built on pure battle lust and the desire to prove his superiority through violence. During their final battle in Hueco Mundo, Grimjo fought with everything he had, but his motivations gradually shifted from simple bloodlust to something resembling respect. He began to understand why Ichigo fought so desperately to protect others. When Grimjo was defeated, his final words showed that he had gained a measure of respect for Ichigo's strength and determination. Instead of rage or hatred, he expressed something approaching admiration for his opponent. Grimjo's later return and his decision to help fight against the Quincy invasion showed that his near-death experience had fundamentally changed him. He had evolved from mindless predator to someone capable of choosing sides based on principle rather than just the promise of battle. Scar's transformation from vengeful killer to sacrificial hero represents one of the most complete character reversals in anime, as he chose to save the very people he had spent years trying to destroy. Scar began as a murderer driven by hatred for state alchemists, whom he blamed for the genocide of his people. His quest for revenge led him to hunt down and kill alchemists throughout Amestris, viewing them all as complicit in Ishval's destruction. When Scar learned the truth about Father's plan and the role that Amestris played in a larger conspiracy, he was forced to reconsider his hatred. The real enemy wasn't individual alchemists, but the system that had used them as tools. During the final battle, Scar chose to use his brother's research to help create the reverse transmutation circle that would save the country. This required him to work alongside the very alchemists he had sworn to kill. Scar's sacrifice involved using his own life force to power the transmutation circle, effectively dying to save the nation that had destroyed his homeland. He chose redemption over revenge, protecting future generations rather than punishing past wrongs. Nagato's final moments represent the triumph of hope over despair, as the man who had given up on peace chose to believe in Naruto's vision for the future. As Pain, Nagato had become convinced that humans were incapable of understanding each other without experiencing mutual suffering. His plan to use the tailed beasts to create weapons of mass destruction was meant to force peace through fear. During his battle with Naruto, Nagato's worldview was challenged by someone who had experienced similar pain but had chosen a different path. Naruto's refusal to hate him and his determination to find another way forced Nagato to reconsider his philosophy. When Naruto expressed his belief that he could find a path to peace that didn't require mutual destruction, Nagato was reminded of his own youthful idealism and his original desire to protect others. Nagato's final act was to use the Rinne rebirth technique to resurrect everyone he had killed during his attack on Konoha. This jutsu cost him his life but allowed him to undo some of the damage his despair had caused, choosing hope over cynicism in his last moments. Maruam's evolution from humanity's destroyer to someone capable of love and sacrifice represents perhaps the most profound character transformation in anime history. Born as the Chimera Ant King, Maruam viewed humans as nothing more than food and entertainment. His initial interactions with humans were characterized by casual cruelty and complete disregard for human life and suffering. Maruam's relationship with Komugi, the blind Gunji champion, gradually awakened emotions and concepts he had never experienced. Through their games, he learned about dedication, humility, and the beauty of human potential. When Maruam was poisoned by the poor man's rose and realized he was dying, his thoughts weren't of conquest or revenge, but of spending his final moments with the human who had taught him how to care about something beyond himself. Maruam's choice to die peacefully with Komugi, using his remaining life force to ease her suffering rather than seeking a cure for her, showed his complete transformation from predator to protector. Kyoko's sacrifice to save Sayaka represents her transformation from a selfish survivor to someone willing to die for others, even for someone who had rejected her friendship. Kyoko initially appeared as a ruthless, magical girl who cared only about her own survival and territorial rights. Her harsh treatment of Sayaka and her selfish approach to fighting witches made her seem like a secondary antagonist. When Sayaka transformed into a witch, Kyoko's immediate response was practical. Witches were enemies to be destroyed, regardless of who they had been. But her growing understanding of Sayaka's pain and her own guilt over their conflicts changed her perspective. Kyoko's decision to try to save Sayaka from her witch form represented her belief that people could be redeemed, even after they had fallen into despair. She refused to give up on someone who reminded her of her younger, more idealistic self. When it became clear that Sayaka couldn't be saved, Kyoko chose to die with her, rather than let her suffer alone. Her final act was one of compassion and solidarity, proving that she had rediscovered the caring nature she had tried to suppress. Obito's redemption came when he chose to protect the very people he had manipulated and attacked, sacrificing himself to save Kakashi and help defeat Kaguya. For years, Obito had orchestrated countless tragedies as the Masked Man, including the Ninetales attack that killed Naruto's parents. His descent into evil was motivated by despair over Rin's death and his belief that the real world was hopeless. When Naruto's determination reminded Obito of his own childhood dreams, he began to question the path he had chosen. The boy who had wanted to become Hokage was still somewhere inside the man who had tried to destroy the world. During the battle with the Ten Tails, Obito chose to fight alongside his former enemies rather than complete his plan. He realized that his dream of a perfect world was actually a nightmare that would deny everyone the chance to grow and create real happiness. Obito's final sacrifice involved protecting Kakashi and Sakura from Kaguya's attack, taking fatal damage to save the teammate he had once blamed for all his suffering. He died helping to protect the world he had tried to destroy. While Gilgamesh doesn't exactly turn good, his final moments show a grudging respect for humanity's potential and an acknowledgement that his arrogance had blinded him to their worth. Throughout the series, Gilgamesh viewed modern humans as worthless mongrels unfit to exist in the same world as him. His plan to cull humanity was based on his belief that only the strongest deserved to live. During his battle with Shiru, Gilgamesh's overwhelming power and arrogance led him to underestimate his opponent. His refusal to take the fight seriously ultimately led to his defeat by someone he had dismissed as inferior. In his final moments, Gilgamesh showed a measure of respect for Shiru's determination and ideals. While he still believed his own philosophy was correct, he acknowledged that Shiru had earned the right to oppose him. Gilgamesh's defeat represented the triumph of human determination over divine arrogance. His final words suggested that he had gained some understanding of why humans continued to struggle despite their limitations. While Accelerator survives his initial villainous arc, his apparent death scene after protecting Last Order marked his transformation from merciless killer to dedicated protector. Accelerator began as Academy City's strongest Esper, willing to kill 20 clones to achieve absolute power. His participation in the Level 6 shift experiment showed his complete disregard for human life and his obsession with becoming invincible. His defeat by Toma and his subsequent encounter with Last Order awakened emotions he had thought himself incapable of feeling. For the first time, he experienced genuine care for another person's well-being. When Accelerator was shot protecting Last Order, his thoughts weren't about his lost power or his injuries, but about ensuring her safety. He was willing to die powerless if it meant she could live happily. Accelerator's near-death experience completed his transformation from Academy City's most feared villain to its most unlikely hero, proving that even the most ruthless killers could find redemption through protecting the innocent. While Dio never truly turned good, his final moments in Stardust Crusaders showed a grudging respect for the Joestar bloodline and an acknowledgement of the bonds that had always eluded him. Dio spent over a century as the ultimate embodiment of evil, rejecting humanity and pursuing power at any cost. His philosophy explicitly opposed human values like mercy, loyalty, and self-sacrifice. During his final battle with Jotaro, Dio's overwhelming confidence in his time-stopping abilities led him to underestimate the power of human determination and the bonds between the Joestar family. In his final moments, as his body crumbled in the sunlight, Dio's thoughts turned to Jonathan Joestar and their complex relationship. Despite his hatred, he couldn't deny the respect he had always felt for Jonathan's nobility. Dio's last words suggested that he finally understood what he had rejected in choosing power over connection. His death represented the ultimate failure of his philosophy and the triumph of the human values he had spent his existence opposing.